Welcome to Straight Talk with Alyssa Thorne. Today I have a wonderful returning guest, Kelly Orchard, and she's going to catch me up from where we last left off to where she is now in her journey. So, hi, Kelly. I'm so happy to have you again.
It's really great to be here, Carly. I've missed your face. Yeah. It's been a really long time. I'm thinking almost 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely been a chunk,
Yes.
totally a chunk.
Yeah.
So it'd be really fun to find out because when we last talked, we were talking about gratitude and heart issues and everything revolving around heart and that type of. And now we're in a
Right.
totally different space. So I'd love
Yes.
to hear about the latest books you've written, and then we're
Yeah.
going to talk about how fear is not anything to be afraid of; that it actually
Right.
can be a good thing.
Yeah.
So why don't you catch me up a little bit on your life, and then we'll dive into fear.
Well, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Being a novelist was always a dream of mine. That was on my bucket list. So the last, few years, I became a licensed psychotherapist. My heart issue that caused me to hold my whole life trajectory just flipped on its side or on its head. And so I became a licensed psychotherapist, but still, I have a radio background, still keeping a foothold in radio. Created a little podcast called Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day, 60 seconds on wisdom, success, and personal growth, and then turned those into books with a journal page. So I've been kind of like just processing. So after Heart Lessons, which is the book you're referring to, which is what my first one I did the Apple a Day series, and that took several years. Then it's like COVID happened and everybody's life turned upside down, right? And I was kind of like, I had developed this new program, Licensed to Be Badass. And badass is basically an acronym that I use in my psychotherapy practice. So it's not like hardcore rule. It's like, no, if you've been through some struggles and you've survived and you're not quitting and you're still trying, well, that's pretty badass. And so the License to Be Badass theme is just to kind of give you that confidence that, yeah, I am badass. I am still here. I am still trying, and I am flipping the format on my fears. And so that developed into a program. Well, I had to take my parents in during COVID, and so all of my little creative projects, my writing projects, all were put on hold. And so the last few years I've been, caring for my parents and then lost both my parents. But during that time frame, I took advantage of some quiet time. I now live in an RV, fifth wheel, and I travel the country and I do psychotherapy. I think, because of COVID, it opened up the opportunity for psychotherapists to do phone sessions. Well, then when we were allowed to go back and, into the office and whatever, most of my clients preferred the phone sessions. So I was like, why not? So I bought a trailer and I can do sessions anywhere. And I've been traveling the country now for 3 years. And during that time, with my quiet time, I wrote my bucket list. I wrote my first novel, which is Dead Air, the Day the Music Died, which incorporates my radio background and my psychology background. So it's a psychological thriller. And so each of the characters has an emotional issue that they're also dealing with during this crisis that's going on at their radio stations. And that just came out last year. And that kind of opened up the opportunity again when I went to National Association of Broadcasters show to basically do a book signing and introduce my book. I thought, well, I wrote it about radio, and it's not necessarily just for radio people. It's a general audience, but why not market it to the radio industry? And then that just kind of started up conversations again with people in the industry talking about their fears and mental health concerns that everybody has. It's not isolated to just one industry or one individual or one community. We're all struggling with mental health stuff. And so that caused me to dust off some of my material that I had been working on before. And then I wrote another book called Flipping the Format on the Fear of Failure. And that just came out. And I just returned from another NAB show where I was doing a book signing for both books now. Dead Air, I have them here, Dead Air and Flipping the Format on the Fear of Failure. So since I saw you last, I think I've written 6 books.
Oh
I'm
my
currently,
goodness. I
I
am
know, and
I'm so proud of you. That's just like so awesome. And I love how you kept flipping things because that
yeah.
just shows that you're transforming your growth. And I
Exactly.
absolutely
Yeah, it's a never-ending process, growth. It really isn't. And so one of the things that I've learned during my this time is that, if you're not growing, you're dying. So better, pick off the things that are no good, and let's go with the stuff that is good. So, where do I stand now? I'm having a lot of mental health, May's mental health projects that I'm pushing for the month, and writing my next novel, which is also got radio. Radio is the setting, but this time it's a love story. So it's still got that
Ooh,
psychological, emotional stuff going on with it. Yeah.
that sounds
So
amazing. I look forward to reading all of them. I keep
thank
on
you.
people sending, I keep on having authors send me books, and I'm like trying to catch up. I finally finished
Oh
the book
yeah.
someone gave me like 3 months ago. I was
Yeah.
like, ah. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, I realized, like, since COVID, mental health has finally come more to light. Before,
Right.
mental health, I feel, was more in the closet. But then once
Yes.
COVID happened, there was so much mental health. It was hard for it to be hidden,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think people
Yeah.
became more aware and more open to talking about their mental health, which I think is so important. So I really
Yeah.
love that you got your license and you're now getting to travel and work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, play when you work, and you work and you play. And that's what you're doing right now, which I think is absolutely fabulous. So
Yeah.
let's dive into fear. Let's dive into
Yes.
fear.
Yes. One of my
So
favorite topics.
let's talk about how it is not something to be ashamed of and something to be afraid of. And let's talk about it. So take me on a journey with your book.
Well, flipping the format on the fear of failure, it wasn't necessarily at first written for radio people. It's part of the License to Be Badass program and components. But the first thing that I realized is when I would talk to people, talk to my clients, talk to anybody, and you get down to the bottom line, and everybody, the reason that you don't step out and be brave, or the reason that you have this bad attitude, or this negative attitude, I mean, is that you're afraid of something. What are you afraid of? And fear is a natural state. I mean, we are born with that natural protection instinct, and it goes into our amygdala. So it's not as if you don't already have the fear instinct. You just need to be able to tell yourself, okay, this isn't like physical danger kind of fear. And that's kind of where it all started, is what are your fears? It's like, so like in business, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. I'm afraid I'll lose my house. I'm afraid I'm going to be broke. I'm afraid of this. And then when you can address exactly what you're afraid of, then you can start to work on that. So it's like, even with me, I had to deal with the fear when I had my heart problems, the fear that I was never going to work again, or the fear um, that I was never going to feel well again. I was going to be always on the couch. Well, look at me now. It's like, since then I've gone back to grad school. I've written 6 books, and I'm traveling in an RV. What the heck was I afraid of? I was afraid of losing my life. And then when I finally realized I'm not going to lose my life, then you can start to kind of regain some confidence again. But fear is a natural state, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, to be afraid.
Yeah, and I can so relate to that, because I was stuck in flight and flee because of the trauma that I grew up with. And
Hmm.
again, you have to kind of train your body to know that you don't have to be in flight and flee anymore. You
Yes.
can use it when it's absolutely necessary, but not live in that space.
Yes, and that's the first step, is being aware that being aware that you don't have to be in this flight or flee state anymore. You don't have to be. You're not in danger. And that does take that's neuroscience. That's neuroplasticity. That on one hand, reminding yourself, telling yourself, we're not in danger. We're not in danger. And then the other is getting your heart and your brain in coherence, and that's the heart math, using positive emotions to lift yourself out and reduce the negative impact on stress that it's giving you. So
Now, you
it's
were
more than
talking about, sorry, I didn't mean to
no.
interrupt. You were talking about you're afraid to lose your life. I have my medical complexities. So,
Yes.
um, after I'm at 67 surgeries now, somewhere when I hit like the 30-ish mark, I had to make a decision. Do I want to die or do I want to live? And I've had
Right.
so many near-death experiences. I finally had to let go. I was never afraid of dying, but I had to
Yeah.
let go of the fear, like you said, of being ill, of being
Right.
sick all the time, or whatever that piece was, and to choose life and to live it
Yeah.
full out on my terms, not just on medical terms. And
And so
you're right. It's
yeah,
Go
how
ahead.
did that change you when you made that decision? Did you suddenly have like I'm ready?
Yeah, it was very strange. I even had friends tell me, it's like, you're not as, you're not in in those depressive episodes as much. Now you're
Right.
like, you're full on, you're awake, you're aware, you're going, you're moving, you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've just kept going. I haven't stopped. And
Yeah.
I've had a couple of interesting things happen medically, which also helped me cement the fact that, because I was told all my friends, oh, my father died when he was 49. I'm going to die in my 40s. I have so many
Right.
medical problems. There's no way I'm going to make it till my 60s. And here I am, 61, right? So
Yeah.
then I had to make a decision. Okay, 61, you said you were
Yeah.
going to die young. I guess, you've made the decision to stay for a
Yeah.
while,
Well,
and live from there.
the D in badass means decide. So that's part of it, is that you have to decide that you're going to grow, or that you're going to make that shift in your mindset and in your heart. And that's part of it. So you that's why I asked you the question, what happened when you decided? Oh, everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one simple step, one simple thing. Did it cure you? Did it make you feel physically better? Not yet, but you're getting there. Yeah, it's all about attitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. And that's what people go, how do you have such a positive attitude with 67 surgeries? And I was like, it's a choice. Do I
Yeah.
have my moments I get depressed? Yes. Do I have my moments that's woe is me? Yes. Do I have the moments where it's like, why me? Of course, we all have that. But the point is using the tools in your toolbox to get you out of that space. I'll do some yoga. I'll go exercise. I'll listen to music. I'll go for a walk. Anything to take me out of that headspace. And
Exactly.
I'll actually
Yeah.
say, that's an intrusive thought. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yep.
Right? I'll actually
Yeah.
talk to those thoughts now
Uh-huh.
versus before
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would just let it
Right.
drown me.
Yes, and that's another thing to teach, is that, it's like, what is it? We have 10,000 thoughts a day, or maybe it's 100,000 thoughts a day. I don't know. You don't have to feed them all. You don't have to pay attention to every single one of them. Pick the ones that are good and let the other ones go, because they're just going to come back tomorrow. And that's, once again, neuroplasticity. That's cognitive behavioral. Okay, so that's what I'm trained in specifically. I study neuroplasticity. I'm not claiming to be a neuroscience, but I love it and I study it, so I'm very aware of it. And so that's the neuroplasticity. Our negative thoughts, they kind of, we do a pathway in our brain. And so when you start to think the positive thoughts, you're changing the chemistry, the physiology of your brain, and you're increasing the serotonin and the dopamine, creating oxytocin, which is our natural hormone, natural heroin. That's our feel good hormone, and our brains like it. That's why drug addicts continue to use heroin, is that they like that high. Well, you can get that by positive thoughts, by positive input. And that's what we needed to share with, that's what I share. And they're like, yeah, well, you go to these workshops and you feel good, and then as soon as you leave, you're back to your old self again. Right. The oxytocin is like a drug. You got to refill. So it's like, so you leave that workshop, or you leave that seminar, or that good feeling thing that you just went to, and you have to replicate those feelings and emotions. And the more you do it, the more your brain's going to start looking for it, because it likes it. And then pretty soon you're changing those negative grooves to the positive grooves in your brain.
Yeah, I wish more people understood that, because it's true. People go to Tony Robbins, the Christopher
Yeah.
Howards, the,
Yeah.
E. Harv Eker in those days, right? So,
Yeah.
and then they leave and nothing changes because they haven't chosen to absorb that positivity and then go home and take action steps,
Right.
create a map of where they
Right.
want to go. Instead, they
Continue
come
to do
home
it.
and get depressed because they're not in that high anymore, and go, oh, okay, that's just another
It
thing
doesn't
that didn't
work.
work.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to do some work to get there.
Yeah. And it's not hard work. It's
No, it's
just
not.
consistent work. That's all. It's just consistent work, and probably different work than you've been doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing I love with neuroplasticity is NLP, neuro linguistics programming. So I'm
Right.
certified in NLP and hypno. And when you take those two together and put it with neuroplasticity and, and the teachings, it's
Yes.
just mind blowing. Like,
Yes.
if you really
Yeah.
study it, it's
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
fabulous.
I this is one of the habits that I have developed over the years, is that when I go to sleep, I'm either listening to some sort of frequency meditation music, or lectures from Carl Jung or Eckhart, whoever it is. I'm listening to something, and because I know it's absorbing into my cells even as I'm sleeping,
So that's what
and
I do. I play
yeah.
sound vibratory music all night
Hmm.
long. It's on
Yeah.
loop. Different
Yeah.
different vibrational, for the
y-
pineal gland, for the activation of
yes.
this, activation of that. Just to,
Right.
and it
Yeah.
is, it makes a world of difference. I play it literally in my house all day long. I have
Mm-hmm.
two Alexas, and one Alexa plays sound vibratory and another one plays another, but and between that and saging the house and crystals and chimes, and it's a beautiful feeling. It's just so peaceful in here.
I know. Yeah, I see. I've spent a lot of time in Sedona, in the last few years. Because right now where I'm in my trailer right now, and I'm in Arizona, and but I'm in southern Arizona, so it's going to get hot here real soon. So by June 1st, I'll be moving to northern Arizona and stay there for a few months. But I've spent a lot of time in Sedona, just experiencing the vortex and the vibration there. It is very real. I mean, a lot of people say it's woo woo, and be careful of all the woo woo. I'm like, no, I'm studying the science of it, because it's very real. That one of the things that I discovered, and it was, and not just recently discovered, but it was like a slow kind of like aha. It was when I started learning about heart math and how, our heart has, a electromagnetic field that spreads out about 3 feet from, or 3 meters outside of us. And so whatever mood you're in, whatever state you're in, we're talking about fear. If you're in a fearful state, you're broadcasting fear around you. And so therefore, what are you doing? You're also receiving it, because we are a broadcast station and a receiver.
Receiving. Yep,
Where,
exactly.
so when I started learning about that, and then comparing it to what I know about radio broadcasting, that's how transmitters and towers are built. They are a broadcaster and a receiver, and they have an electromagnetic field. And guess what else they're powered by is quartz crystal. That's how you get the power, and the energy is copper, and it shoots straight up, just like your spine and your chakras, with the extra bays that get the power up going further. And then it emits a signal. Okay, so then it was like, okay, well, then what's your programming? What signal are you putting out? And
It's
that's
so
what's
it's so amazing because I have a tattoo of that. So this is
see.
the
Yeah,
Kundalini coming up through the spine,
yeah,
this is symbol of the brain, it
yeah,
bursting out in all directions, and then I
yeah,
have north, south, east, west.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the
That's beautiful.
energy's coming out in all
Yeah,
directions of time. And another
yeah,
thing I added to my practice, every time I go to bed and I wake up, I say cutting cords with all beings and entities in all directions of time. Because of all the traveling we do when we sleep, in our
yeah.
daily interactions with people, all those cords that get plugged in,
Right.
I just clean them out every day.
Yeah.
It's really made a difference.
Yeah, it really does. And people are like, no, that's too woo woo. But it's like, no, this is another thing that fascinated me, was that electricity does not die, energy doesn't die, it just transforms.
Exactly.
And so where does it go when a body dies? When the vessel dies, that energy, that life flow that's in you, where does it go? It
Hmm.
doesn't just die with you, it goes somewhere. Because you've had the near death experiences, but I've had the family members who have died. So when I was younger, I started studying near death experiences, because at 19 I really wanted to know where my brother was. you know and so there's book after book and documentation after documentation. So when we talk about fear of death, it's like you have nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, a person you would love to talk to is Daniel Brinkley. He's died like, I don't know, he had three big deaths. I mean, one for like a really long time where he had a toe tag on, and he actually physically had to find his body because he couldn't find it because they already moved him down to the mortuary with a toe tag.
Oh, wow,
So
that's a
his
story.
spirit, when it came out, when he was
Yeah,
upstairs,
right.
was kind of like, okay,
Where
where's
am
my
I?
body? Where am my body? So it's really fascinating when we talk to people who've actually died and come back.
Yeah,
Um, and I've worked for hospice for years, so I've watched
yeah,
many people transition, and
right.
it's a wonderful, precious time.
Beautiful. Yeah, it is. Part of my internship, when I was interning, I was a grief counselor at hospice for about a
Hmm.
year. And so I learned that too. And I did some trainings with David Kessler, who worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Right.
And so, he had written a book called Visions, Trips, and Crowded Rooms. And I still continue to refer that book to people who have a loved one who is either going to die or has died, because it's very beautiful stories about what happens at the moment of death. Yeah. And
Hey,
it is like you're just leaving one existence to another.
do me a favor before I forget. Put together a list of resources, and I can
Sure.
share that because
Okay.
that will be. But do that something. We'll just do that separately. Email it to me, and
Yeah.
But yeah, that way people can get the information, because a lot of people are looking for really, good books that will
Good
actually really
books.
make a difference, not just any little book off the shelf about death and dying. I did
Yeah.
an ebook on conscious death and dying. Just, getting people to realize they need to talk about it. You got to prepare your family. They got to know where stuff is. I know people in their 40s that still don't have a will.
Yeah.
People are so afraid of death. It's such a taboo subject. And it's just, again, going back to fear. It's a fear-based thing. And it's
Yes.
nothing to be afraid of. It's just,
Well, it's like afraid to talk about it. Okay, why are we afraid to talk about it? We can break that down. And this is what I do in my practice. Why are you afraid to talk about it? Well, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't want to make it happen too fast, or it's too icky to talk about, or they'll think either that I want them to die sooner. Whatever the fear is, it's like, okay, well, we need to move on from that fear then, because this is an important conversation to have.
absolutely.
So that's why it's like I love the topic of fear, because it's like, what is it that acronym? Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Exactly.
So when you can look at it like you do with your negative thoughts, okay, thanks for showing up, get out of here. That's what we got to do with fear. Okay, thank you for reminding me to be careful. But this I think I can do because I'm not in danger. Going back to, are you in physical danger, or is this just emotional danger?
Absolutely.
And our body doesn't know the difference if our
Now I
whatever our
remember
brain
why I
tells.
love talking to you so much, because you and I could talk forever.
Ever, I know. How long do you have? What are we doing?
Anyways, so we are going to end, because I want to make sure people capture what we've put out there for now.
Okay.
I'm going to get a lot of juicy tidbits from you, but I do want you to end the episode with 3 aha moments you want to give people, 3 tools.
Oh, way to put me on the spot. Okay, so if you're feeling a little bit off and you're just not really sure what it is, that's when you start to name it, and it might be fear. So if you can figure out what you're afraid of, then you've got something. That would be an aha moment. I think the aha moment is, oh, I am not alone in this. A lot of people feel this way. And then the other aha moment, know that there is somebody out there who's willing to help you, who wants to help you work through this so that you can grow and live a happy life. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah, people, don't be afraid to ask for help. Anytime you're in a situation, you can go to a church and ask for help. They always have all sorts of groups for trauma, for abuse, for drug and abuse.
Well, and here's the thing. Since it's May is Mental Health Month, psychotherapy is covered on most medical insurances, and a lot of people have that, feel that stigma. It's like, oh, it means I got to go, talk to somebody because I can't work out my problems, or they think of it as it's going to be like psychoanalysis, where their therapist is going to go all the way back into their past and tell them how horrible they are. That is not how it works. It's basically just to give you some tools that you can cope with, and you got to figure it out. And it's also, I love to say, it's also one person that you've got that is going to be 100% on your side, and they're going to keep it confidential.
Absolutely. And I encourage people, don't be afraid. I think a lot of people don't go to counseling because they're afraid of the label being in their medical chart.
Exactly.
Even though there's, it wouldn't really be released because we have all these laws against releasing medical information of people.
Right. There's HIPAA and everything else.
And all that stuff. So don't be afraid to reach out, find a counselor. You can, there's so many services out there now. Online.
So many. There's a lot of resources. Yeah.
So, all right. Tell people where they can find you.
I think my website would be the best way, kellyorchard.com. There's all my links are there.
Perfect. Yeah. It's been so delightful having you.
Oh, yes.
I look
nice
forward
to reconnect.
To our next conversation.
Okay.
All right. Everyone have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.